My parents always favored my younger sister throughout my life. Then she discovered I had $10 million and had a complete breakdown at our Thanksgiving gathering. When people ask about my childhood, I usually redirect the conversation to avoid the topic. My upbringing wasn't horrific. I had a roof over my head and food on the table, but it was far from perfect. My name is Deborah, and I'm 38 years old. I've chosen to share my experience, not for pity, but in case someone else can relate. When I was 8, my life changed dramatically. My sister Amanda was born prematurely. I remember my dad rushing to the hospital in the dead of night while my Aunt Jessica stayed with me. Everyone was worried about the baby, and I was no exception. I didn't fully understand premature births, but I knew something was wrong. Amanda pulled through, though she was frail. Our house turned into a makeshift medical ward, with my mom constantly sanitizing everything. The sharp smell of antiseptic clung to the air. If I even coughed lightly, my mom's concern was never for me, but for Amanda. "Deborah, was that a sneeze?" she'd ask, alarmed. "We can't risk anything." "Pack a bag. You're staying at Grandma's for a few days." I often ended up at Grandma's or Aunt Jessica's, as if I were a walking germ. At first, those visits felt like little escapes. But soon, I realized I was being sidelined. Desperate for my parents' attention, I threw myself into school. I earned stellar grades, joined the debate club, and even won a science competition. Yet Amanda's health always eclipsed my accomplishments. "Mom, look, I won the science fair," I'd say, holding my trophy proudly. "That's nice, dear. Did you wash your hands?" "Amanda's been feeling weak," she'd reply, barely glancing at me. By the time Amanda was 7, she had outgrown her fragility and was a healthy, strong child. Still, my parents couldn't break their protective habits. Amanda, sensing her influence, began manipulating their attention, acting delicate whenever she wanted something. High school was supposed to be my time to shine. I worked tirelessly, excelling academically and joining extracurriculars. But Amanda's needs always came first. One evening, my science teacher told my parents I had a strong chance at a prestigious scholarship. "Deborah's one of our top students," he said. Then my mom's phone rang. Amanda was home with the babysitter, upset. "What's wrong, honey?" Mom asked, worried. Amanda sobbed. "I can't find my favorite pencil for homework. The one Deborah gave me is terrible." Just like that, my moment was stolen. My parents rushed home, abandoning the discussion about my future, all to help Amanda find a pencil. After that, they stopped attending my school events altogether. "It's simpler this way," they said. "Amanda gets upset when she feels excluded." When I won the state debate championship, they didn't even display my trophy. "Amanda doesn't like seeing other people's awards," Mom explained, stashing it in a drawer. Getting into college should have been a joyful milestone. I earned a full scholarship to a state university, covering tuition and living costs. I was ecstatic until I got home. At dinner, Amanda barely looked up, rolling her eyes. "Finally, you're moving out," she said. "I'm turning your room into my gaming space. I want 3 screens and a streaming setup." I started counting the days until college. College years passed quickly. I stayed on campus as much as possible, treating home like a brief stop for occasional family dinners where Amanda dominated with her middle school drama. At 23, with my degree in hand, I landed a managerial job at Thompson & Company. The pay wasn't lavish, but it covered my own apartment, and that was enough. One day, while browsing social media, an ad caught my eye. "Learn to make your money grow." I usually ignored such ads, but this time I stopped. The course cost money, but I could manage it by cutting back on expenses. That choice changed everything. The instructor, Mark, made investing seem clear and approachable. I started small, investing a few $100s in tech stocks, then gradually scaled up. I studied the market, learned risk management, and honed my skills. My first major win was a small AI startup no one noticed. A $375 investment soared to $30,000 in 3 months. Then a biotech company tripled my returns. Soon, my investment earnings surpassed my job's salary. The moment I realized I could leave corporate life is still vivid. Sitting at my desk, feigning interest in work, I checked my investment app. A stock had hit its target. Crunching the numbers, I saw my investment income was triple my salary. I drafted my resignation letter on the spot. Still, I kept attending Saturday family dinners, perhaps out of habit or a faint hope things might change. I'd sit there, eating Mom's bland chicken, listening to them fawn over Amanda while my investments quietly grew. "Deborah, still at Thompson's, right?" Mom would ask, barely listening. "Yep, same job," I'd say, knowing they'd tune out before I finished. It was easier that way. No need to explain I'd quit years ago and was earning more in a day than I once did in a month. Amanda was the star of every dinner. She got into Carleton University, a pricey private school. "It's expensive," Mom would sigh, but her tone was proud. "But Amanda deserves the best. We took out loans, but it's worth it for our girl's future." Amanda, twirling her pasta, would add, "My roommate has a designer bag. Everyone there is so rich." The hint was obvious. Our family wasn't up to par. Then one Saturday I found Mom crying over bills. Dad sat at the table, buried in paperwork. "Property taxes went up again," he muttered, "and with Amanda's tuition." Seeing their struggle, I thought of all the times they prioritized Amanda over me. But they were still my parents. That night, I set up a $2,000 monthly transfer to their account. When I told them, Mom hugged me for the first time in years. "Deborah, this means so much." I held on to a tiny hope that things might shift, that they'd see me differently. But that hope crumbled when I overheard them after dinner. "We should give some of Deborah's money to Amanda," Mom said. "At least $1,500. She feels out of place among those wealthy students." Dad agreed instantly. "Good idea. She needs to keep up appearances. Maybe she can get that designer bag she wants." I wanted to barge in and reveal everything. That I'd left my job years ago, that my investments had made me wealthier than they could fathom, that I could buy the entire store they wanted Amanda to shop in. But I didn't. I just stood there, shaking my head as they planned to channel my money into Amanda's image. By 29, I was ready for a change. My investments had far exceeded my expectations, and I was tired of renting. After months of searching, I found the perfect apartment, secure, with a breathtaking city view. It wasn't extravagant, just sturdy and spacious enough to feel like home. Best of all, I could buy it outright. No mortgage, no debt, no strings attached. The day I got the keys, I stood in the empty living room, hearing my footsteps echo. This was mine, entirely mine. When Mom called, as usual, to talk about Amanda under the guise of checking on me, I mentioned moving. "Did you find a cheaper rental?" she asked, distracted, papers shuffling in the background. "Just a new place," I said vaguely. "Better spot." "Don't spend too much on rent, honey. Your job's field is so unstable." I nearly laughed. If only she knew my field was managing millions in investments, not shuffling papers at Thompson's as she assumed. At the next family gathering, Aunt Jessica asked about my new place. Before I could answer, Mom cut in. "Deborah's renting a new apartment," she said dismissively. "But wait till you hear Amanda's news. She's graduating top of her class from Carleton." As always, the talk became an Amanda showcase. Relatives praised her bright future, occasionally glancing at me with pity. "Amanda's going places," Dad said proudly. "No surprise. She's always been our star. Companies are fighting to hire her." Unlike some who settle for mediocrity, my cousin muttered to his wife, loud enough for me to hear. I sipped my wine, thinking about the stock deal I'd closed that morning, one that earned more in a day than he made in a year. But I stayed silent, letting them believe what they wanted. Then came Amanda's graduation party. Mom and Dad spared no expense. Catered food, lavish decorations, the works. I noticed a chunk of my monthly transfers had funded the event, but I was used to it. Amanda paraded in her cap and gown like she'd invented electricity. Spotting me by the punch bowl, she marched over, waving her diploma. "Look at this, Deborah," she said, shoving it in my face. "Carleton University, not some state school like yours. I've got interviews with top firms. I won't end up stuck in a dead-end job like you." I sipped my drink. "Congrats, Amanda." "That's it?" she scoffed. "Aren't you jealous? I'm going to be successful, and you're just... you." She stood there, practically begging me to admit her superiority. I could have told her about my investments, my paid-off apartment, how I earned more before breakfast than she would in her first year. But why bother? I shrugged and walked away, leaving her clutching her diploma like a lifeline. 3 months post-graduation, Amanda was still jobless. Those companies she bragged about weren't impressed by her expensive degree. Meanwhile, her student loan bills piled up. One evening, Mom called. "Deborah, got a minute?" I knew what was coming. "Amanda's loan payments are overwhelming us," she said, pausing for effect. "With all our expenses, I hate to ask, but could you—" "How much?" I cut in, already regretting it. "If you could bump your monthly help to $3,500, it'd be a lifesaver." I thought of all the times they dismissed my achievements, how Amanda mocked my career. But my bank account, comfortably in the 7 figures, was something they knew nothing about. "Fine," I said. "I'll adjust it next month." Mom barely thanked me before planning the money's use. "This'll help with Amanda's loans and maybe get her some nice interview outfits." Weeks later, Amanda landed a job at a company where Dad had a college friend in HR. The irony wasn't lost on me when she started as a manager. One weekend, I stopped by our parents' house and found Amanda lounging on the couch, scrolling through apartment listings. "Everything's so overpriced," she whined. "It's humiliating living with Mom and Dad." "Maybe try a smaller place," I suggested. "Or look outside the city." She looked at me like I'd suggested living in a dumpster. "I need the right area, Deborah. You wouldn't get it. Some of us have standards." I glanced at our parents' modest living room, where she lived rent-free but kept quiet. She sighed, tossing her phone. "This is temporary. Unlike you, I won't be a manager forever. I've got real potential." As Thanksgiving neared, Mom was in her usual hosting frenzy. She insisted on doing everything herself, turning the kitchen into chaos. But this time, she was struggling. "I hurt my back doing Amanda's laundry," she said over the phone a week before. "I can barely stand. How will I cook for 20 people?" "Let me handle it," I offered. "I'll have it catered from a restaurant downtown." Mom's voice lifted. "You're such a good daughter. I don't know what we'd do without you." On our video call, I saw Amanda in the background, rolling her eyes. Even a hint of praise for me was too much for her. Thanksgiving arrived, much like every family gathering. The catered food arrived on time, and I helped Mom set up, ignoring Amanda's complaints about store-bought stuffing not comparing to homemade. I brought my laptop to monitor the Asian stock markets, which would open during dinner. I set it up in my old bedroom and joined the family. The food was excellent, far better than Mom's usual overcooked turkey. As we ate, Mom brought up her back injury. "I was so worried about cooking," she told the room of relatives, "but Deborah stepped up and got this amazing catered meal. Wasn't that kind?" "That was generous, Deborah," Aunt Jessica said warmly. "Must have cost a bit." "It's nothing," I said, brushing it off. "Glad everyone's enjoying it." "She earns enough at her manager job to help us a lot," Mom added, the first time she'd ever acknowledged my contributions. Amanda's face darkened across the table. Suddenly, she pushed her chair back and stormed out. I thought it was just her usual drama, but something felt off. When she returned, she held my laptop, smirking with malice. "Let's see how well Deborah's really doing," she said, voice dripping with venom. "Since she's so generous, she won't mind me showing her bank account. Time to reveal the fraud she is." I jumped up. Amanda, stop! But it was too late. She turned the laptop around. My banking app, left open, was on display. The room fell silent. Amanda's face twisted, her hands shaking so hard she nearly dropped the laptop. Amanda, what is it? Mom asked, voice trembling. $10 million, Amanda whispered. The silence was deafening. I heard the ticking of Mom's old clock, the fridge's hum, a cousin's fork clattering onto a plate. There's got to be a mistake, Aunt Jessica murmured, leaning in. Deborah's just a manager at Thompson's. I haven't worked at Thompson's in years, I said calmly, finally speaking the truth. I quit to focus on investing full-time. I studied markets, took courses, and got good at it. You're rich? Amanda's voice broke on the word. I took a breath, facing the stunned table. I've been investing for years. Started small, learned as I went. That account has $10 million. I wasn't hiding it. You just never asked. The silence lasted seconds before Mom's piercing scream shattered it. $10 million! She leapt up, face red. You've had that kind of money and let us struggle? I stared, incredulous. Struggle? I send you $2,000 every month. Her voice hit a painful pitch. Your sister has loans, we have bills. How could you be so selfish? Dad's face twisted with anger. We raised you better, Deborah. You're hoarding money while your family suffers? Something in me broke. Years of being overlooked, the reliable but ignored daughter boiled over. Hoarding? I scoffed. Funny, where was your savings for Amanda's college? Oh, right, you spent everything on her. And you didn't pay for my education either. I earned a scholarship while she racked up loans for her fancy school. That's different, Mom snapped. Amanda wanted. I cut her off, voice rising. It's always Amanda. Well, newsflash, my money is mine. I earned every cent. $3,500 a month is nothing to you, Mom retorted. You should be giving us $10,000. We're your parents. I laughed bitterly. $10,000 so you can keep spoiling your golden child? I turned to Amanda, who was shrinking back. You wanted to expose me as a failure? How's that going? The sister you mocked turned out to be the successful one. How's that feel? The family sat frozen, forks mid-air, watching the chaos unfold. If you're so rich, Mom sneered, you should support your family. It's your duty. Duty? I stepped toward Amanda, grabbing my laptop from her trembling hands. My duty ended when you decided I didn't matter. You poured everything into Amanda, your star. Let her bright future support you now. Aunt Jessica tried to calm things. Let's all take a moment. But it was too late. Mom and Dad were yelling, their voices a storm of blame and entitlement. Amanda burst into tears, her usual tactic when cornered. I didn't say another word. I turned and walked out of the house I once called home. As I reached my car, Mom's furious voice echoed behind me. The messages started before I got to my apartment. Calls, texts from Mom, Dad, Amanda. First angry, then guilt-tripping. I tried replying, hoping they'd understand, but it was pointless. They didn't want understanding. They wanted my money. Then Mom took it online. Her post was a manipulative masterpiece. My heart breaks learning my eldest daughter is wealthy while her family struggles. She refuses to help her sister's loans or support her aging parents. Money changes people. Pray for Deborah to remember family. The backlash was instant. Old family friends, distant acquaintances, called me heartless, ungrateful, cruel. Mom fueled it, replying with crying emojis and gratitude for support. The relatives at Thanksgiving stayed quiet, but their silence didn't stem the judgment. Strangers piled on, labeling me selfish. That was it. I opened my banking app, staring at the $3,500 monthly transfers to my parents, money they treated as nothing. With one tap, I canceled them. Then I sent Mom a final message. I've stopped the payments. I'm done being your ATM. Don't contact me. They didn't stop. Calls flooded in, Amanda used new numbers. Dad left endless voicemails about family duty. Mom escalated her social media campaign, twisting the story further. I blocked them all. Phones, emails, social accounts. Knowing they'd try more, I called Marcus, my building's front desk manager. I need names on the no-entry list, I said, giving their names, descriptions, and photos. The next day, Marcus called. My parents and Amanda had shown up, causing a scene in the lobby, threatening to call the police. That night, I browsed houses in other states. Maybe it was time for a new start. Somewhere they couldn't find me. Some might call it running. I call it boundaries. They had years to support me, to value my work, to treat me with the love they gave Amanda. Instead, they dismissed me, only caring when my money was on the table. Seeing their true colors, I feel no guilt cutting them off. As I browse listings in distant cities, I feel only relief. Sometimes the healthiest choice is to walk away, even from family. Thank you for watching Story. Please subscribe and hit the notification bell for more real